everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to a very special episode of Delight and Fright. We have in the house Molly, who was in the latest movie, Late Checkout. And we have our most beautiful Miss Cat in the house,
Hi.
and myself, Luna. So, Cat, what did you think about this wonderful movie that we got to experience?
A lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It had all the elements that I look for in a good horror: great kills, great effects, great characters, good lines. You always want to have a couple of those fun lines to share so people in the know that you know what I mean? So it was a lot of fun for me, and I took a lot of notes, and I definitely want to see it again. How did you feel about it, Luna?
I loved it. I resonated a lot with the pizza guy. I wouldn't say too much about the pizza guy, just that he didn't get an appropriate tip. And when I do deliveries, I'm like, if you don't tip me, I will eat your food. Just kidding, I won't.
Unofficially, the pizza man is named Seymour Butts, which also adds like a layer onto his suffering, his ennui as a character, really.
Nice. I like that. Definitely an interesting take on his character, and I did appreciate that a lot. Are you guys ready for the preview?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, without further ado, here's the preview.
You're so close. Can you just hold it? No, Jazz, you need to go. Like, I feel so sick right now. No, please pull over. Please. I feel really sick. This is why we don't day drink. Can we hurry it up, please? These roads are making me sick. I think this is it. It's beautiful.
You guys just gonna sit here and stare at it?
We don't get room to go the whole time. Let's climb. Go get some pizza, have some drinks, just chill out, all right?
This place is, like, definitely haunted, right? I'd be more afraid of, like, a mountain man hiding underneath that or something. You guys wanted to kill someone?
Awesome. Yay.
No, you're like a crazy horror person when you're looking onto people you love and respect just in a state of trauma and terror, just with the biggest smile on your face. Truly, like filming this movie, and Kat, you brought up a lot of the things that I wanted to convey going into it, and also what I love about horror. And one of those is like the practical effects. And Late Checkout really we were so full of like laughter and sunshine on set, but there really were moments where we were all like, this is disgusting and I can't believe we're doing this. And watching it and knowing like all of the gore and everything that's in store for the audience, I'm like, I can't help but sit here and really smile, and it makes me feel a little sick.
Nice.
Just a little.
So the people are disgusting line was just a theme throughout the entire production.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So Brian saying, hello, Luna and Kat. I'm looking forward to learning more about late checkout, but judging by the trailer, it looks like no checkout.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. Absolutely. You would, the severity of the murders by our wielding mass killer, you would think that there would be no survivors. You'll have to tune in to see if anyone makes it out of the cabin.
Yeah.
We've
And
sorry.
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, we've talked about, I mean, there's just so many iterations possible. We could hit you with like an early check-in. Huh? Sometime in the future. Stay tuned.
Ooh,
Ooh,
that would be awesome.
Nice.
So
I love that you had all the character types. You know, it was a very varied cast, and you had the cliches, and then you had, you know, all the different. You had the slutty guy, and and I like that it was a guy. That's great, because it's. I mean, why is when a woman, you know, gets what she wants, she's slutty, but a dude, you know, he gets to do whatever, whenever, and nobody questions it. So
Like, yeah, totally. And that's like horror. I feel like people usually either love it or they hate it. And I feel like a lot of times people get caught up in the tropes, right? So for some people, the tropes are comforting and the predictability becomes kind of like a game where you're fitting in puzzle pieces. You know that they're there. Where do they go? But then some people find it like redundant, or at some points it's been offensive. You know, you've had a lot of like misogyny in horror where only the virginal, you know, usually blonde, better than everyone person gets out, and anyone who's like, God forbid, smoke a little pot, or God forbid, the forest has to die. It's crazy. We definitely wanted to kind of like flip some of those things on their head and play into some of them, and yeah, they're all there though, the whole cast of characters, and then some. We add a couple in there too.
So for our
I,
lovely
I loved
viewers
it.
that have not seen this movie yet, where are they able to find it? I had a few of our viewers ask this question beforehand, so I wanted to come on the show and personally ask you.
So we are not streaming yet. We are not talking about streaming yet. We're still kind of in we're doing a bunch of festivals. We've been collecting festivals and awards like no one's business recently. It's been super fun to kind of watch it take off in that arena. And soon we'll do like a premiere for everyone who was involved and people who are, you know, whoever's local and can come. And then we'll be releasing DVDs and talking about streaming and all that fun stuff that comes afterwards, but not yet. Hold on. But believe me, we have our whole cast and crew is like frothing at the mouth to tell you about what we have in store for you. So as soon as we know, you will know.
Okay, awesome. And I did want to ask you, Molly, about the how was it that you co-wrote this, but you were also acting in this? What are some of the challenges of doing both aspects of it?
Totally. It's indie horror is awesome for people, the busy bodies, the busy people. I've always been a person who likes to wear a lot of hats. I don't really like sitting still personally. So I just naturally kind of, if I'm there and I'm doing stuff, I just kind of pick up other roles. Like the first film Josh and I worked on together, The House That Eats Flesh, I was brought on just as an actor, and I ended up doing some like behind the scenes photography and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we ended up working together writing. It started as like I was helping him. I'm a huge reader, and I am like a human spell check. So I was helping him with a little bit of that and like grammatical stuff and sorting out formats. And then we started talking about the story and collaborating and writing it. came soon after deciding, like, you know, Josh and I wanted to work together again. So he threw me in the cast, and then I was just, you know, just throwing out some ideas. Let's change this. Let's tweak this. And then we ended up collaborating on a lot of plot points in the script and a lot of those, you know, kind of quippy things Kat mentioned. I'm like a lifelong horror fan, so I wanted to add some elements that I'd always wanted to see in horror. I love like a good queer element. I love some empowerment, and I love a little humor along with my murder. But in terms of actually executing the roles, because also get this, I acted, I helped write it, and I was also the assistant director. Which, if you're unfamiliar with the roles on a set, the director is really, he's like the captain of the ship, right? He or she is leading everyone. They're helping everyone's performance, guiding the story along, nurturing everyone. It's this it's a very important role. And right under them is the assistant director, who is like, we're running out of time.
Nice.
I need actors. We need to film the next scene. So I like did the scheduling and got, you know, rooms and stuff like that for people. So on set it was kind of a bit to juggle, but being so familiar with the script, having written it and helped the whole production process, I was probably the most prepared person there.
Nice. So it sounds like when the director got distracted with all the dealing with the actors and everything else, you were the one in the background keeping everything in track and then jumping out into the foreground when you needed to. The
So
kind of
usually that's kind of ADs are known sometimes to be rude. I don't like to be rude to anyone ever. I'm like a friendly sheepdog, maybe, like just kind of guiding people back to where you need to be at the right
little
time,
pokey poke.
making sure everyone's eating lunch and all of those, you know, upkeep things. I love roles like that though, so it was super fun to kind of balance that. And then my character in the movie, Addison, is fun and flirty and a friend to everyone, and you know, there's a lot of fun in playing those roles. So it was good to transition between like serious time and then fun, flirty Addison time.
That is sometimes nice.
And I see you're a producer too, so you put your money in the game. You guys get in the game.
You
Nice.
know, everyone ends up more involved than they think they will in indie. You come in to be like an actor, and you end up, you're like, oh, now I want to direct, and I want to write, and I want to try all these things.
Right?
Hand me that light. So yeah, I think one of the great things about working with Josh is he will always give credit when credit is due. And we worked really hard to get this thing off the ground. We shot the whole movie in like a week. It was really incredible.
Wow. I would not have thought that.
Yeah, it was a serious marathon to get it done. And everyone on the crew who helped out with that in those major ways ended up with a producer credit, because we made it happen, you know, or the bones that hold this picture up.
And you know, how do you know what you're going to be best at or what someone's potential is if you don't try different things?
Absolutely. That's so important on all film sets. And I've said it about Josh a million times, and I'll never stop saying it, that quality of everyone having a seat at the table. I mean, that's how we ended up writing together. He hired me on as an actor, and then I was like, wait, no, I want to change some things. And instead of saying, you know, Patooey, this is my script, get away from it, he was like, let's hear it. And then we ended up kind of expanding our relationship and finding this new way to collaborate that ended up with like what we all consider to be a very rad movie.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I want to send Josh a very happy birthday wish.
Happy birthday, Josh.
Happy birthday, Josh.
Happy birthday.
He was so sweet because he had made plans to come on the show, and then he had to cancel. He rescheduled, and then he had to cancel again. He's like, why don't you reach out to Molly? She's better at planning things. And I'm like, okay.
Actually forgot it was his birthday, which is exactly why you need an AD. When you're an artist, things get very up in the air.
I was like, oh, you forgot your own birthday? Ooh.
Happens.
Must be busy. Must be so busy with all the other commitments. Very busy. So we have a lot of fans in the house that wanted to personally ask about Felissa Rose's involvement. How did you get her to be a participant of this film?
So Felissa is another person who was awesome because Felissa is just enthusiastic about life and art and creating, and she has a lot of hope uh, for young artists and emerging artists, indie artists, and she's really, generously willing to lend her name and her talent to these things. You'll see if you look her up on IMDb, you'll probably see that recently she has like a ton of producer credits stacking up, as well as these like awesome award-winning. At least in our case, she's won awards for her performance. These award-winning performances. She's like the sweetest person ever. She bought me on like her second day on set. She went out and bought me flowers.
Oh,
Aww.
Oh, like the queen, everyone just melted when she comes in. She smells like a coconut wonderland, and she's like all smiles and ideas, and it's just like this wonderful ray of sunshine. And then she's also super nice. It's just like it's kind of crazy, or like this makes no sense.
Yeah.
I've seen in the movies, and then she unleashes these like terrifying performances, and we're like, oh my god,
yes.
moving away, quiet.
Absolutely. When I watched her performance in this movie, I'm like, holy fuck. I have not seen this side of her acting before.
Yeah, she really. No one was excited. Like when I talk about these moments on set where we're all having this great time, and then you're rocked back by the presence of purpose and this talent in front of you, where it's like this is real. You are really terrifying, or you are really terrified. Both sides of it in the movie. It's crazy. It's very visceral. I think our actors all did like a crazy good job.
Yes, absolutely. And I love Felissa as well. I've met her a couple of times on occasion, got my picture with her and my husband and told her what I did for a living, and she was just like, "You're amazing." And she just empowered me and just lifted me. And I recommend anyone, if you're at a convention and you're nervous about it and you're thinking about saying hi, go say hi to her. Even if you don't have money, just say hi. Just say, I love you, I think you're great, be polite, wait in line, and all that good stuff, and she really appreciates it.
She is super lovely. And that's a great example of like how awesome the horror community is. I'm constantly
Yes.
blown away by like people who like love murder and are also the nicest people you've met. It's like, what a combination.
Right. And I find it at least what I've been finding recently is it's people who have had some sort of any trauma or strife in their lives. They like to see their horror like someone else going through some shit, and they're like, haha, not me. At least that didn't happen to me. You know what I mean? It kind of relieves you in a way. It's very odd, but it works. Right?
Go see terror in like a really controllable way where you're like, even so, it's funny. I was kind of nervous because we're all like live, and I don't know who's here and watching me and whatever. And then the music, your intro music, it's such a horror song. I was like, oh my God, my heart was thumping away over here. That anticipation, everything, the music, the acting, the gore, like everything in horror comes together to just make you like, need to close off all my senses.
Oh. Well, I worked on the intro myself, so I appreciate that compliment. I've been playing around with video editing software and everything, and I try to make it all like the ring like, all like camera, like you're going into this like frenzy craze.
And trying not to get in trouble with YouTube. You're like, no, that's not any music.
This
I
is
make it
not
myself.
that piano song is not copyrighted material, so I haven't been copyrighted strike for that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
It's
thumbs
this
up.
song every ghost plays. It's like since 1700, ghosts have been playing that song upon their entrance.
Yeah,
Anyone can use it.
that's awesome.
Reuse.
So where exactly was this movie filmed? absolutely loved when they did a lot of the drone shots. I was like, I want to be there with except
Yeah.
without the dying part, but
We were watching the trailer. I've watched the movie several times, of course, but I'm always shocked by how good Jaren's cinematography is. Jaren Lewis really killed that. No pun intended, killed that with a horror movie. But we filmed it in the Smoky Mountains in
oh,
North Carolina.
Nice.
Up in, all of those. For some reason, I've made a bunch of movies in North Carolina. I want to say Greenville, if that rings a bell to anyone. I think that's around where we shot it. Lots of good cabins up there. I don't know if I should like advertise this, but great place to murder people. Just hacking and
Nice.
smoking. No one.
You heard it here first, guys. Great place to murder people.
in a movie
In the movie.
for liability purposes in a movie. Wink, wink.
Oh, something in my eye.
That's great. I loved all that drone photography. It's been great. I wanted to ask about the special effects in particular. Some of these practical effects were so good. Where did you guys come up with like all the ideas? I don't want to get too much into what happens, but there's a particular eyeball scene. I'm very sensitive to eye scenes. Like whenever there's a close up of somebody's eye and something is gonna go in there, if you know what I mean. I'm like, nope, nope, I gotta look away because then my eyeball starts hurting.
Absolutely. Our special effects artist, Derek Werley, is so him with his practical effects skills, sorry, pardon me, in combination with Josh's like just sick freak mind. Like Josh is a lovely man. He's a lovely man. I adore Josh. He's one of my best friends. When I first read this first script he gave me and then this script that he gave me with the kills in it, it's like, what happened to you? What's wrong? Because it's terrifying. Your mind palace is a place I never want to go. He's just really creative in like the sickest way possible. So we came up with all these like really cool, like, I don't know, ways to kill people, I guess, disgusting ways to end a human life. And then Derek, bless his heart, got in his car, filled it up with like body parts, blood, just sinew, just like as many gross things as you can imagine, and just made it happen. It's like pretty much 100% practical effects, except for like a couple of like little things. And then the eye, which you see in the trailer, you see Elsie Holt with like the eye, his eye, just, just a little bit away from a knife point. That was all part of a day where we were actually just kind of like freaking it. We were just kind of like coming up with, the scene was written one way and we like added stuff and took stuff away. And
who was the Dario Argento fan?
Oh, all of us.
A lot of people. That's what I figured.
Yeah, no, all of us for sure. If all like any movie I'm a part of, I will be adding like funky blue light into. Like it's just across the board. If I'm in it, you will see that because I'm somewhere in the back. It's like, hey, I'm a gaffer now, and I'm. Yeah, and the eyes, some glove sequences. There's a couple of like nods to our absolute faves, including like there's some like Wayne's World references. There's. You were so right, Kat, when you were like, if you know, you know. If you know, you know. There's just some things where you'll hear it and go, huh.
Love those little Easter eggs.
But the practical effects was really important for us. And as an actor, I really prefer that. There's a lot of time where like, maybe you're in a dentist's office and they're like, you can't scream like you're being murdered here. So you have to do like, you open your mouth, but you scream later in a studio somewhere. Or, you're seeing someone die, but there's nothing in front of you, or you're dying and nothing's coming out of you. It's just all going to be added in post. Nothing that you're interacting with practically, tactically as an actor. And it really does add something special to the performances. I've said it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again that our actors really blew me away in this. And I think that it only adds to their talent to have like goo to interact with, like just gross things happening right in front of you. It makes it feel more real. And that's another weird thing about like horror actors is they're like, give me. You would think that they wouldn't want goo, that they would be like, oh no, I don't want to do that. But like our star Bailey was like, hit me with a blood cannon. Like I want to vomit. I want to vomit blood. I want to like, if I can do it, I'll do it.
Yes.
They were gung ho about it. It was very lovely.
Love it. And sometimes because they're, when you're acting, you're not always there with all the items. You have to kind of think of it in your own head. Sometimes I think the horrors and the things that we could come up with on our head is always going to be more frightening than what we see on the screen. So I think that has to do with why the actors are able to put out such amazing work, because they're in their heads at that point. And what's scary to one person may not be scary to another. So I love that that you mentioned that as well, because I didn't put it together until now.
Yeah, totally. It's really hard work. Like people think, I think because of these like old horror tropes, stereotypes, exploitation horror, that horror is just something, you do it with your $10 budget and a person with big boobs and some corn syrup and you're good to go. Which of course, if you have all those ingredients, like you're halfway there. Congratulations.
Yes, but we're keen on directors putting more melt booty into the films as well.
Yes.
We want boobs and booty. All right.
Absolutely. But it really like so much. I mean, so much goes into it, to giving these performances and kind of bringing actors to these peaks and valleys of like you're dying. These are your last moments alive and you are surviving and there's hope, and it's crazy. And then you're like in a cabin in the woods for like a number of days, isolated, just like murdering your friends. And the movie making process in the indie community it's crazy. I tell you what.
If you're dying too, don't you see your life flash before you? So aren't you going to feel all of those emotions?
Oh,
Therefore, I would think horror actors would be the best actors. And we've seen it time and time again. A lot of people got their start on horror. A lot of directors got their start on horror. Luna didn't know Peter Jackson started with horror. So I can't wait until she gets to watch Bad Taste and we talk about it, because that's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's on our to-do list. And I noticed that Peter Jackson was very heavy into the fantasy horror. And I'm like, holy shit, the world needs more fantasy horror movies.
Totally. That's like my favorite combination of things.
Mm-hmm. Mine too.
Yeah, and so I'm in grad school for library and information science. I read a lot. My day job in libraries frequently, and fantasy is like such a big thing for me. I think everyone recently, what it was like a Court of Rose and Thorns, some book got everyone into fantasy recently, and I'm like, yes, let's get more. What was it? Crimson Peak? Did you see that?
Yes, that was amazing. That was like an old gothic horror. It reminded me of. I really loved it.
I love this. Like, I love a good like slasher flick. Those are always the scariest to me, because for me, like almost nothing is scarier than like, the realities of terrifying humans. A terrifying human man coming after you. It's just like totally freaks me out. But I love a good stylized horror flick. I would love to do that one day. Directing or writing or acting, something. It's on my list. I'm manifesting it now.
Ah, nice.
Nice.
Maybe a fantasy horror movie in your future?
Yeah. You guys
Let us know. We'll do another movie review for you.
For sure.
So, how was it working with Kamara Cole? And I know your scene was very involved with her character. So was that special? Are you guys still friends now after?
So everyone, I feel like everyone on that set is still friends. It's kind of like summer camp, I guess. You spend, like I said, you spend a lot of time in this house in a cabin in the woods, and all these emotions are high and everything. I love Kamara. Kamara had one of those powerhouse performances that just rocked the whole cast and crew as she was doing it. Anytime she is screaming and crying and just showing her strength in these really vulnerable ways, we are all there with her, behind camera, like trying not to get our tears caught by a mic somewhere. I love Kamara, and I worked really closely with LC too during this, and that was a lot of fun. LC Holt was in You're Next. Did you ever see that one?
Which one?
You're Next. It's like 2011. Anyway, that's one of my favorite horror movies of all time that features the amazing badass final girl. It's kind of one of the first movies that showed me that there could be really badass final girls and totally inspired me. So there were people on the set that were super awesome to work with. And then everybody, we just all kind of became friends in this really awesome familial way during the process. I love Kamara. And Bailey lives out in Atlanta now. Bailey and I hang out. Josh and I are like really good friends. Derek and Jaron, like we're all still working together and rooting for each other like always.
Nice.
That's what I love about the horror community. It's like once you're family, you're family. That's it.
It really is. Like it's like summer camp. You just get these really like cool, close bonds with people, and in a way you guys know each other in different ways than your regular friends. Like your regular friends don't know what you look like before you get murdered, Kamara.
Or covered in goo.
Has your best friend seen you covered in the goo? Help you remove the goo from your eyes? No.
Hold your hair back when you're trying to get the goo off.
Yeah, removed fake blood from your various body hairs. Like,
oh goodness!
It's like I didn't even know I had hair there.
Okay. It's a messy process, and like I said, it's so funny how much people love that part of it. You really wouldn't think. Literally, at one point, I wasn't being facetious when I said we shot Bailey with a blood cannon, just in her eyes, just like in the face. A high pressured blood cannon, and she was just like, "More, please, thank you."
So she took the full load, huh?
It was incredible. We gave her a round of applause and everything. She's like, these indie horror man, they're built different. They can sustain anything.
Love it.
Nice. So I very quickly pulled up the You're Next. And it looks like a very good movie. We have to check that one out next, Kat.
I know it's on my list, but my list gets quite extensive. But now I want to pump it to the top of my list.
Do you have like gateway horror movies? Like, can you identify the movie that made you like, oh, that was super terrifying. I hated that. Let's watch another. That kind of.
I'm not sure.
That's a very good question, actually. Because for me, if I don't enjoy it, I'll give you an example. I am going to get a lot of hate for this, but it's okay. I do not like the Saw franchise. I think it's absurd that they're just going to torture people and there's no real substance or storyline for me. As a person, I'm just like, whatever, getting chopped up into little bits. I'm not getting much out of it.
I don't care if I just lost an arm. If I see Jigsaw, I'm laughing. I'm laughing and I'm kicking. Like, I'm sorry. That's crazy. But yeah, I get you. Have you seen multiple of them though? Like you watched one and you were like, okay, that sucked, and then you went back for more.
I feel like that about the later Halloween movies, because like once Rob Zombie got involved, all the Rob Zombie movies, I'm like, eh. But then I'm like, maybe the next one will be better. Maybe I have hopes the next one will be better. And then Halloween ends, and then Halloween kills, and then I'm just like,
I liked all the newer ones. I liked Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills, and the movie for me that I don't like, that I'll get a lot of hate for it. Like, even just posting my opinion, people are like, freaking out. Is I don't like Hereditary. I don't, the characters, I didn't care for them. And if you don't care for the characters, if you're like, these are just miserable people, like I don't care, you're not gonna have you're not going to get upset, or it's not going to be really shocking to you. And I think that's kind of what the main focus is, that shock and awe.
That
But it's been done before.
That and naked old people. That movie had naked old people out the wazoo, and it really proved that's an underused thing in horror. Like, that movie has so much like murder and crazy stuff, but like the naked old people is really what stuck with me. It's like, ah!
Well, for me, X with the naked old people, that that got me. I was like, oh.
That was a good one. Totally. I feel like mine was like, I didn't like horror when I first started, or I liked it in that way where you're like, oh my God, I'm so scared right now. I don't like this. I want to cover my eyes, or cover my, I want to cover my ears. I want to cover my eyes. I just want to hide from everything. But then like the next night you're like, well, I kind of want to watch another scary movie. Like, I kind of liked feeling like that. And I feel like it was The Others, probably like the 2001 Nicole Kidman ghost story situation, or Texas Chainsaw.
oh,
Oh,
that's a good one.
oh, scared.
Didn't the first Texas Chainsaw get banned?
Probably. I'm
It
sure.
got banned.
and
Like I
and the
was
funny thing is, you don't really see much blood. It's all in the imagination.
Yeah.
That really freaks people out, and the sound of what's going on behind that steel door.
yeah. But
For me,
yeah,
I loved The Howling. That was my first. That terrified me. I snuck up late at night, and I wasn't supposed to be watching it behind the couch. And then I had nightmares, and then I told my mom, and then from then on, she's like, "Oh, just come watch. You want to watch horror movies? Let's watch horror movies." And she just had me next to her, snuggled up, and it was just our thing. So ever since then, I've just loved horror and been hooked on it.
The Howling is totally it. That's a great one.
yeah.
Cool.
I definitely agree with you ladies that if I have no attachment to the character, if the characters are not adequately portrayed or developed, I will not care about them. I'll be like, oh, why am I even watching this? All these characters are dumb. You know what I mean?
Watching it, you like hope they die.
Mm, yeah.
You're like just waiting for it.
She's hiding in the closet. You're like helping the killer. Like, inside of you.
Yeah.
I call those characters the cannon fodder characters, because there are going to be some like unlikable characters who you are just like loading in the cannon to be like, well, people will want to see this guy murdered.
Yeah. Load
And then,
them
of
up.
course, they get murdered last.
Yeah, okay, you drag it out totally.
But
Yeah.
that's the part of it though. You build up the hate. Like the hate meter goes up, that by the time they do outs the characters, the hate meter is so high that it's just that much more satisfying when you finally get that kill, you know?
And that's the really deep introspective kind of culturally valuable part of horror, is that there's this really obvious comparison we can do between horror movie characters now and horror movie characters then, because who we kill and who we kill first matters. We are saying, who deserves to die. The first person you kill is often the person who you're like, well, they kind of deserved it, or like, there's some idea. And in the past, it was often like a girl who was walking alone at night. And you're like, well, maybe back then we would say, oh, she deserves it. Why are you walking alone at night? But now we don't think like that. Now we don't victim blame. Now we're like, no, shish kebab the abusive boyfriend, or like something like way more fun and creative, and that says something so much better about society. And it's so interesting to see how those things kind of have changed over the years, and I wonder how they will continue to change. I've been seeing a lot more like just cool. I think now we often call it like the elevated horror genre. Just really creative horror movies in that regard, where who you're killing and who survives is totally up in the air. Like old horror movie heads might not know the formula anymore. We've changed it up.
Yes. And I
Yeah, I
love that
agree.
it seems a lot of horror movies are going similar to books. You always have that first interaction in the books, and you get a chance to get to know those characters a little better before. So you're kind of feeling bad. You're like, oh, it's the first scare pretty much. Like, oh, this is gonna be bad. This killer's doesn't care. Like, The Walking Dead. When
Yeah.
the minute that little girl gets off, people are like, whoa, we're taking out kids now. Oh no.
Everyone's on the table now.
Yeah.
That's serious. Yeah, that's a totally. Or that's that's so funny.
Miss Molly, what can we expect from you in the near future? Are you doing more collabs with Josh, or what is your plan for future projects?
Josh and I are collaborators, I think, kind of forever. We are talking now about what the next project we're going to do together is, which is very exciting. I have a couple of other like horror things on the books. I love writing, and I really want to direct something. So again, kind of speaking these things into existence. I will always be creating art. I am a painter and digital artist, and I write a number of things. So you can always expect things from me. I think in the coming months we'll have Late Checkout coming out. I have another movie coming out, The House Among the Trees, the House That Eats Flesh, two The House movies, and then a couple of other exciting projects that are in pre-production right now that I'll tell you more about in the coming weeks.
Yo, awesome.
Nice.
And I see that you also worked on or were actually acted in Slasherette Party.
Yeah, that was one of my first roles on film, and I starred in that one. I was the final girl of that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
That looks like a fun little movie.
Yeah, Drew Marvick's in it. If you know Drew, he's fabulous. He's often Santa, like a scary horror Santa. He has like a big bushy beard. He's fabulous. And Miss Ginger Lynn, another icon from kind of a different genre, but if you know, you know.
Right. Oh.
What about the House That Eats Flesh? Where can we find that, or is that still kind of in post production?
That's also in post production. I have a lot of things in the can right now. It's not it's like coming out. Yeah, that was the first one Josh and I did, and you should also check out the trailer for that because it's absolutely brutal.
Nice. What did Josh direct that one also?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh. So what's the premise on that one, if you don't mind? I know we're supposed to do the Late Checkout, but since they're both in pre-production, do you mind sharing a little bit about The House That Eats Flesh?
The House That Eats Flesh is kind of a anthology of horrifying stories that all revolve around like a central kind of haunting, rotting element.
I love anthologies. I really do.
Yes. Oh my God, I love anthologies. It's a lot of fun. I was in a segment of that we also filmed in North Carolina.
Did you guys get some kind of tax credits or something?
You should be. No, we're indie. We just did, we're poor.
Nice.
Oh.
You don't got people wanting permits from you. You're just like, yeah, we do what we want.
Yeah, Yeah, it's usually depending on where, as long as you're not in like a state park, people are pretty cool about it. And the Airbnb people are like surprisingly open to letting you murder people in their house as long as it's fake and you're upfront about it.
Nice,
Nice.
nice.
They're like, well, that's way better than all these other real murders that they didn't ask us.
Or all those illegal parties that happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And they trash the house. I mean, as long as you pick up the blood after, you know?
But we're fastidious with the blood for sure. You have to be, because you don't want to leave like a weird random blood stain in someone's house.
So do you Dexter the house first with
Yeah.
plastic everywhere?
Dexter in the house, or just like everyone throws on gloves, and every like horror special effects person has their own like formula for blood.
Yes, yes.
And they different like bloods stain in different ways. Derek is awesome to work with. He's who we worked with on late checkout because his blood does not stain anything. You could get that blood on a white dress and it would wash out. I don't think I can give you that formula.
I'm all about the Tom Savini formula.
Here on my head as he like smoked me from outside my window, but
Nice.
it's a good one.
There's one particular scene, going back to the blood conversation. I won't give too much away, but there's a certain character that goes into a certain vehicle and there's blood everywhere. And I'm watching the scene and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be a pain in the ass to clean out of the car because there's like blood traces all over the car. And I'm like, oh god, that's gonna be a mess to clean.
Probably Derek's car, because he like is already driving with like weird like disembodied heads and stuff. So it's like he can actually somehow explain it better. He's like, see, officer, it's all fake.
For a movie, it's movie props.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get that a lot? Like, do you think that people that work in the prop and like indie industry, where they're just driving around with these like fake blood and fake body parts and stuff, they may get pulled over? And is there a permit that you show? Hey, this is for a movie, just letting you know, or?
I don't think so. I don't think that happens. I think that I'm sure people do get pulled over with those kinds of items in their car, or even having to travel with plane. If you're traveling by plane, you might have to check a head bag. Like that could happen to you. Just like a bag full of heads, and you're like, "This is my carry-on." That would be crazy to explain. But at least in Indy, I don't know if I could like write you a note. Like he's allowed to murder. Here you go. Okay.
Oh, our friend Raven says vehicular chaos is surprisingly easy to explain when you're in an area with regular production.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I kind of suspect that you might get pulled over and explain that, and then the cop would just be like, "You fucking hippie artist, like, okay, get out of here. Here's your ticket."
Just pull up your IMDb. You're like, it's
Yeah.
me. And by the way, where's your picture in IMDb?
I
How do you fix that?
you have to pay for an account to do that.
Oh,
Lame.
bastards.
I know, and it's like $15 a month, which is not a lot of money, but I'm like, just to have a picture up on something that's like LinkedIn. I don't know. It's important.
Just be like, I'm pretty. What?
Like a brief description, just of like, if I could just be written word, that would help. Pale with like red hair. That's the gist of it. That's really all people need.
Aw. Aw. Well, I want to thank everybody so far that's tuned in. We have a lot of viewers in. If you guys have any last minute questions that you want to ask, please chat them in and we'll be doing those rapid fire because we only have about 10 minutes left to go.
And
But
I'll
Kat,
ask, is there a place we can find the short It's Here?
Ooh, yeah, It's Here. Should just be on YouTube. So I worked for a while with a production team called Creepy Pizza. You ever heard of like creepy pasta? It's like creepy stories. So they just chose another
Nice.
carb there. We did that, and then we did It's Here, which is part of a like series they did of like YouTube shorts that we filmed during 2020. So we filmed them remotely.
Okay.
It was like this. Like we would just record, like I would record on my phone and, you know, have her call and do the lines and just mash and edit our reactions to each other together. It was a really interesting, I mean, everyone came up with such creative solutions to working in 2020, and Creepy Pizza did that like really well. It's here, and then oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of something that I was in, but we were in another one. As in another one with
Hexed.
Creepy Hexed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lovely. A faux pas of mine. I forget things all the time. Hex was a lot of fun. And that was another thing that kind of came out of COVID, this like just unbreakable spirit of artists. They were like, we can't leave our house. We can't be anywhere near each other, but like try to stop me from making creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Try. And
There's creepy shit going on out there, so let's make it.
then, yeah, totally. I think Hext is really impressive. I think it's like a 20, 30-minute short. And again, it's something that we filmed independently of each other. And we just made a really cohesive piece that is actually pretty freaking scary, I think. But also, I'm like, for someone who loves horror, I watch horror pretty much exclusively, pretty much. And I make horror movies, and horror terrifies me. It scares me so much. I hate it. Oh my God, I hate it. Every time I'm watching a scary movie, I'm like, why am I doing this?
But then wherever you go, you are situationally aware. You're like, hey, these are the exits.
That
goes down.
True crime. That and the true crime. Absolutely. The combination of the two. Definitely. I feel like I've armed myself with like, not only do I know how to escape a killer, but I also know like how your killer mind works. So I'm walking around clocking perverts all the time. Like, is it you?
At a convention.
I wanted to do some shout outs to your the awards you've won for It's Here. The Index Film Festival 2020 Outstanding Achievement Award, Best Mobile Short. Also, the Vegas Movie Awards of 2020 Award of Prestige, Best Horror.
Yeah, that, like I said, that was really fun. I think that they were really well done, especially just for the time. Like being able to create something without actually interacting was really amazing. And thank you. We have awards stacked up for late checkout, and just even hearing people reacting well to it or being excited to see it, even questions about like, well, where can I watch it?
Yeah, I had a lot of people like hit me up with that. And I'm like, I don't know, let me ask them. And then here we have the answer official for our folks that are like hungry for the content.
Yeah, it's heartwarming and exciting. It's kind of like our baby. Like it's this thing that was created with so much love. And we just had such a blast doing it that I feel like that will articulate itself well. And it's really rewarding to know that some people are seeing it and they're picking up on those things, that it's fun and it's funny and it's disgusting. But that they're enjoying it. That's all really artists want. It's just people to connect to things and to totally misinterpret things and to talk about them and share them and hate them and love them. Just getting the feedback is really cool. That's why we do it.
Yeah, I know there were some scenes in there where I'm like, am I okay? Should I not laugh at this? Because there's some scenes I was just laughing and I'm like, am I psychotic? Why am I laughing at this?
There were scenes that I'm a cackler, like I should have a broomstick. I am such a witch, but I cackle at this movie. And it's, like I said, it's so upsetting. There were so many times where we were like, no, I'm not okay. And it wasn't for like a funny reason. It was like, someone call my mom, get my mom on the phone. So I'm fucking upset. But then, yeah, it's juxtaposed with these like bright human moments of humor. Dan, Dan, we on set, we just called him Handsome Dan. So
Oh,
I don't really, I'm like, I think it's Kearney. I know how it's spelled. I just don't know how you say it. Dan Kearney. He's amazing. He's like producing and acting. He played Kurt, and he was one of, I can't wait for people to see that performance because it's shockingly hilarious.
yeah. I liked that character, and I like the things that the character has to endure.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that for a cliffhanger for our viewers to go check out the late checkout. So, ladies, do you have any other questions, Kat, that you want to ask?
Is Film Trash Productions what the other films are under, or just this new collab with you and Josh?
So that's Josh's production.
Okay.
Film Trash. Yeah. So I have been a part of that. I would consider myself a part of Film Trash. And that I helped write Late Checkout and worked on the production team, and that I was in it. I think anyone who is in the film is part of the Film Trash family at this point.
Nice.
Film Trashy family. But that's his production company.
That's so cool. We loved it, and I want to thank you guys for allowing us to. We're a very small but growing community, and when I reached out to Josh, I just expected a simple, oh yeah, we'll do an interview, but he's like, no, check out the movie. Here it is, review it. And I was like, whoa, I was felt so special. And a lot of people in this community have really embraced us with open arms. And I'm so excited to indie horror is where it's at. Because if I would have reached out to, like, for example, the Conjuring franchise to do something like this, they'd be like, who are you? How many viewers are we going to get?
What?
Less than 100? No.
Block.
Is if I were to communicate or to stress anything here, beyond my like shameless self-whoring of please go see my movies and support me, my Instagram handle is right here. I'm a starving artist. There's a strike. Besides that, my other message would be anyone can do this. If you have a story to tell, if you want to create something, if you want to talk about horror movies, if you want to make horror movies, if you want to act in horror movies, or put up lights, or like hold the blood cannon, like reach out to people. There are people making movies in your area, and if there aren't already, pick up your iPhone, go on Facebook Marketplace, get a camera, and do it, because you can do it. It's achievable, and it's so fun and so rewarding. I cannot stress enough, like, if you have it in your heart, take the leap and do it, because there's space for all of us here. Like Luna and Kat are like a great example. Just like summed that up perfectly. Like, there are so many people willing to extend a hand out to you, and it's not a hand down to you, it's a hand out to you, like a handshake.
Mhm.
Everyone here we all have a seat at the table, and we all have something super valuable to contribute. So
I love that, Molly. I love that. And you've inspired me as well, because I've been working on a book for years, written certain parts of it like short stories and tried to extend it. But then you saying that, you got an idea and that the actors and everything work together and kind of end up changing it in the long run. So I'm thinking maybe I should just, pitch my idea as a film and then get other people to help me.
yes.
So I appreciate that. Got my wheels spinning. So I always ask this of anyone who's done different roles within film. What has been your most enjoyable role as far as being a producer, a writer, an assistant director, an actress? And which did you find the most challenging?
Ooh, well, acting will always be challenging in a very particular way. It's stepping into another person. There's many different methods behind acting, of course, and I like method acting is one that people talk about controversially all the time. and whether or not you're sticking with a method acting thing where you're like, I'm staying in character the whole time. You're in character for a while, even if you're not, staying in character the whole time. And in that space, it's so vulnerable, and it's so challenging in such a rewarding way, especially in horror, as we were talking about earlier. You're thinking about, what would I do if I knew that my friends were dead, and that I'm going to have to tell their mom that they were dead, and not only are they dead, but they were brutally murdered. These things are real, and they really happen to people, and we laugh, and I wrote jokes into it. We had a hell of a time editing it, because we're like, it's really horrifying and also really funny, so how are we going to put these things together? Such is life, right? I mean, there's all these really traumatizing things that are brought back with levity. And
it's either laugh or cry sometimes, and we all know there's no crying in baseball, so you gotta just
acting is going through all of those things just in like 10 minutes. Like, you could have one scene where you are happy in love, and then the lighting's right, so you're going right into like, okay, now you're dying. And it's emotionally, you're just kind of snapping these rubber bands back and forth. You're like playing yourself like a big upright bass.
Sometimes is it cathartic, maybe, to kind of just get those emotions out and a release?
Absolutely. I mean, when you're really involved in the process, and you do feel like, this is how my character, I am being true to my character and articulating these feelings honestly and authentically, there is something that feels so good about that. And feeling proud of any performance, of course, is really important. Feeling like you did it justice, right? But then also, like, screaming is super fun. I have a disgusting, terrible scream. It like freaks Josh out. I think that's why he hired me back, because the first time we worked together, everyone was like, "Ew, never do that again." And that's kind of fun too. It's like the same reason like a roller coaster is fun, that kind of like microdosing these huge emotions in a really safe environment. I'm dying, but I know I'm not actually dying. So while like one part of you is emotionally like, oh my God, I'm dying, like, you have the safety of like, there's a director here who cares for me and everything's safe and I'm fine. The duality of it. So that's why it's like, it's really rewarding for me to do. I don't do it all the time. I don't accept every role, because you have to be kind of careful with who you lend yourself to and what stories you want to tell. At least in my case, that's how I've approached the craft, at least. But my favorite, it's hard to say. It's probably writing, though I am a very organized person. I'm very type A. So being an AD was a lot of fun, kind of pulling everything together and keeping everything organized. Dramaturgy is really like where my heart is at, though. So I think that probably acting or directing would be like my favorite things. And so far, I've only really self-directed and directed shorts, but that's like my goal right now. The plant I'm watering the most, at least.
Nice. Is it hard sometimes going back and watching yourself? Because I know nobody's more critical of you than you.
There's I don't know about you guys. I think maybe this is body dysmorphia, but I'm like, I don't know what I look like. And then I see myself on camera and I'm like, oh God, that's who I'm in. That's me. That's crazy. I always have to watch something twice, because the first time I'm always like, oh my God, I look like a deformed freak. And then I watch it again and I'm like, no, you're fine. It is jarring. I think that's kind of why I was tentative to say it's my favorite, because I don't really know sometimes how to react to that like lasting visual element of it. I don't know how often I would rewatch my own movies. Something that I'm in, not something that, like, if I'm directing it, that's totally different. I rewatch those all the time, but for some reason, just watching my face is like, it's kind of jarring. It's a little weird, for sure. There's
Oh.
in that trailer, you see me like almost butt booty ass naked, y'all. I'm like in my skivvies at least. I'm like, that's jarring. And you're like, hey, Dad, watch, I worked really hard on this. I love this. Do you want to watch me be naked and die? It's
Well,
crazy.
what I'm seeing now, you are very beautiful, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm one of the better looking goblins.
Oh.
You're just a fembot, right?
I try, yeah. I'm like, I'm Janet. I'm like, not a girl, not pretty. Thank you.
Oh. I think we all are a little hypercritical of ourselves because I've had situations where, on camera, I'm like, oh my God, why do I look like 500 pounds? Like, angle it different. You know what I mean?
Or hearing your own voice on camera, running
Uh,
back audio loops of your voice and editing your own voice for like 10 minutes straight is like,
Do I really sound like that?
yeah.
that's how people hear me. And it is like I mean, there is a part of performance that, so in theater, I grew up in a very theatrical family. My dad runs a black box theater. And when you do theater, it is there in the moment and then it is gone. It happens and you are all there to experience it and you're all in this room and then you really easily can kind of take the temperature of how people are perceiving you because they are laughing and crying with you or gasping or whatever. You're in usually kind of a small space. And then with film, it's this like it's forever. It's yeah, different angles. It's not like how you view conversation, how you view people. It's stylized and directed and lasts forever and people can, take little clips of it and loop them or do whatever they want with them and there's something so scary and so exciting about that.
Did you find yourself yelling with your theater voice and be like, oh, wait, I don't have to do that?
Yeah, totally. Oh, absolutely. But it does help you having a little bit of like cross training there. I think it is good to know like how every role works on a set, but then also to have different experiences. Like my friend Tetra Lloyd is like an amazing actress and singer and behind the scenes person, and she comes from an opera background. So that like screaming and doing those things are like it's like a totally different experience for her than it is for me because she's using like different skills and muscles and yeah, it's
She's
just
like, I could scream for days.
vibrato.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, do you have any final messages for our lovely viewers that are watching us right now, Molly?
Just, thank you. Stay interested in the little guy. Right now we are in a strike, a kind of renegotiation of how we value art and artists and creating and pursuing indie horror and people who are not making millions and millions of dollars, people who are paying people fairly, hopefully, which doesn't always happen in indie. We did that. You don't have to feel bad about watching Live Checkout because we did that. Chat, don't worry. But it's so important. I think it's really beautiful that you guys are here doing this, Luna and Kat, and everyone here who is viewing this show and viewing indie horror and just pursuing art and horror with joy. Keep doing it. I'm doing it and I'm having a great time.
Yeah. I couldn't have said that better myself. Kat, do you have any final message for our viewers before we check out of the late checkout?
Yeah. Well, we gotta have a late checkout, right? I mean,
Late checkout. 8 minutes late of this checkout.
And people are disgusting.
I love that. You guys will eventually get that.
Thank you. This is such a joy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. We look forward to seeing all your work. And when late checkout comes out, when it's finally announced, we will reshare that to all of our fans so they know where to find it, where to watch it. And this was very amazing. And thank you so much. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart that you were able to come through and do this. It means a lot to me.
Women in horror forever. Anything you guys
Yeah.
need, burying a body, talking about murder, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. We got your back too. If you need any promos or anything, we got you.
Girl power. Love it.
Girl power. All
Yeah.
right. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. There was a very special episode tonight full of girl power and late checkouts. So it was a nice pleasure to have everybody here. And without further ado, good night. Bye.